everyone, it's time for chapter 22 today. So on chapter 21 we talked about, the last thing was Angela. They're wondering if Angela was really right, if the time warp was really a thing. So chapter 22. Jonah, Chip, and Catherine slumped in various chairs in Chip's basement. Is this safe? Catherine asked, talking together here now. I don't know, Jonah said miserably. How long do sound waves stay in the air? I can check online, Chip said. He turned around to the computer and began to type. How long do... Chip! Someone could check your search records, find out what you just asked in that question, Jonah objected. So what? I could just be doing science homework, Chip said, but he stopped typing. The words, how long do, stayed on the computer screen. How long do we have to figure everything out, Jonah wondered. How long do we have before someone appears out of nowhere and carries us away? He finally told Chip and Catherine about seeing an intruder in his room the night they'd first gotten that list of witnesses and survivors. Then he'd explained his theory about how someone, the janitor's enemy, had found out about Chip's computer files from the note in Jonah's desk, and how if he, whoever he was, could find Jonah's note in Chip's computer files, then that person could just as easily tap their phones. For all Jonah knew, someone could have gone back in time and to tap their phones 10 years ago, but was listening to their conversations 15 years in the future. Jonah was beginning to feel hopeless. How could you resist someone with that kind of power? All right, Catherine said briskly. Let's assume that talking is safe, because if it isn't, we can't do anything. Chip, do you have any paper? Catherine, I told you they can read anything we write down. Catherine rolled her eyes and reached down to pull out a sheet of paper out of Chip's printer. She snagged a pen out of the middle of a stack of computer games and dodged Jonah's hand when he tried to pull the pen away from her. I know, she said impatiently. I'll destroy the evidence as soon as I'm done. I'll eat the paper if I have to, but we have to get organized. She bent over the computer desk and wrote two headings on top of the paper, what we know and what we think. She drew a line down the middle of the page, dividing the two topics. Under what we know, she wrote, JB gave us witnesses and survivor list. And then under what we think, she added, so JB's probably not the one who took them away. JB, Chip asked. Janitor boy, Catherine said. I would have called him CJB for cute janitor boy, but that's just my opinion and probably not how you and Jonah think about him. So, Catherine, Jonah growled through his gritted teeth. He pointed to the list. Focus. Catherine grinned triumphantly, not looking chastised at all. Dimly, Jonah realized that she may have been trying to aggravate him, to jolt him out of his gloom. She shook her wet hair gleefully, sending out droplets of water all over the paper. Wait a minute. Had Catherine really agreed to come down here to Chip's without blow-drying her hair first? Jonah hadn't noticed before because he'd been so freaked out. But this undoubtedly meant that Catherine didn't have a crush on Chip. Or, if she did, she thought this mystery was more important. Jonah decided to apply his brainpower to Catherine's list instead of her love interest. JB was trying to protect us from E, he said, pointing to what we know column, and E stands for enemy. Nobody argued with him. Okay, Catherine said after a pause and wrote it down. We need another category, Chip said. What we don't know. Why was JB protecting us? What did E want to do with us? He pulled out another sheet and handed it to Catherine. None of them commented on the fact that what we don't know got a whole sheet of paper, while what we know and what we think got only a half sheet apiece. JB tried to warn Jonah, went into the no category. But they all agreed that the phones are tapped only qualify for what we think. Angela vanished into thin air, Jonah said. No. He was glad that Chip didn't challenge that one. Without asking, Catherine added into a time warp and with our list under what we think. And then under what we know, you can add about 1 billion questions, Chip said. How? Why? How did she know the time warp was there? How did she go through it today when she'd been studying time travel for 13 years and hadn't gotten anywhere? Catherine chewed on her pen thoughtfully. I bet JB helped her, she said. But Jonah would have seen JB if he'd been there with her, Chip objected. Maybe he told her how the time warp worked, Catherine said, or maybe he was invisible. Invisible? Jonah thought. We've got to worry about invisible people now? Angela didn't look upset or anything. Jonah said, on the contrary, when he pictured her stepping into nothingness, reliving that moment he'd already relived so many times, he thought she'd had an excited expression on her face, or determined. But maybe we should just call her, just to make sure and to see if she has our list. Call her? Chip asked. 15 minutes ago, you wouldn't even talk to me on the phone. I know, but if we're careful about what we say, just kind of hint that we want to meet with her again to find out what happened, to see if she has our list. Hand me the cell phone, Catherine, Jonah said, and Catherine dug the phone out of her pocket and handed it over. We don't have her phone number anymore, remember? Chip said. I'll call information. Jonah said. He already started to punch in the numbers. Catherine scrunched up her face like she was thinking hard. She lives on Stonehenge, she said. Stonehenge Court or Street or something like that. I remember thinking that someone involved in a mystery should have a mysterious address like that. Thanks, Jonah said to the operator. He said, I need the number for Angela or A. Dupree on Stonehenge. Dupree, D-U-P-R-E. Thank you, the operator said, and then a second later, I don't have a listing for A or Angela Dupree anywhere in the city. But I know she's there, Jonah protested. Well, maybe her number's unlisted, the operator said, or she just uses a cell phone. Lots of people are doing that now, and they're not in the directory. It would be like Angela to have an unlisted number, Jonah thought. Thanks anyway, he said, and cut off the call. Chip and Catherine were staring like they were worried about him now. It doesn't matter, Chip joked. She probably is not back from the time warp anyhow. Well, maybe not, Catherine said. You could go through a time warp and stay in the other time for like 30 years and then return just a split second after you left. I was still watching a split second after she left, Jonah said grumpily. She didn't come back. Well, not being able to find Angela's number bothered him more than it should have. It was like he didn't have control over anything. Okay then, Catherine said with forced cheer. How about all the stuff Angela told us about the plane and the babies, and her theory about you two being from the future? That's all impossible, Chip said, isn't it? And yet, they all sort of began treating it like it was real, like they believed it. Why would anyone come back from the future to now, Jonah asked. What's happening now that matters, here in Ohio? Yeah, Catherine said, if you're going to go back in time, you would save Abraham Lincoln from being assassinated, or John F. Kennedy, or you would keep the Titanic from sinking, or you would stop 9/11, or I know, you assassinate Hitler before he has a chance to start World War II, or you bet on who's going to win the World Series, which you already know because duh, you're from the future, Chip said, or you invest in Microsoft stock before anybody's ever heard of Microsoft. Jonah shrugged. Maybe there's something big about that's going to happen and we don't know about it, he said. He saw Catherine trying to suppress a shiver. What I don't get is why there are two sides fighting over us. He looked down at Catherine's list, which was full of JBs and Es. What do they want from us? And how can we find out before it's too late? Catherine asked. Ooh. So, wonder what they want with them. Okay. Chapter 23 is tomorrow. See ya.